This strange story happened not so long ago. A family of 4, Michael Carter, his wife Rebecca, and their 2 daughters, Emily and Grace, were driving to visit an old family friend named Thomas. He lived on the edge of a half-abandoned rural settlement, somewhere deep in the countryside. The road was unfamiliar, but Thomas had given detailed directions over the phone, carefully explaining every turn. At some point, they missed the correct turn and took a narrow side road instead. At first, no one noticed anything unusual, but after about 5 minutes, the scenery began to change. The trees grew closer together, the light dimmed, and the cracked asphalt slowly gave way to a rough dirt road. Another 15 minutes passed. Then the road simply ended. Michael turned off the engine and stepped out of the car, listening to the silence. There were no houses, no signs, no sounds of life, just trees, endless forest. He called Thomas, trying to explain where they were, but the connection was poor. Through the static, Michael caught only fragments. "Turn back while it's still light. Don't go into the woods. Hurry." The call dropped. Realizing they were in the wrong place, Michael got back into the car and tried to start the engine again. Nothing. The engine refused to respond. Rebecca glanced at her watch. It was just after 2 in the afternoon. They weren't panicking yet. Thinking they had time, the family stepped out of the car to stretch their legs and walk a little. Michael stayed near the vehicle, hoping the signal would return so he could call for help. But the signal was gone completely. The girls wandered deeper between the trees, and without realizing how far they had gone, they suddenly found themselves standing among old graves. A cemetery, wooden crosses, stone markers, some tilted with age, others standing unnaturally straight. As they walked between the graves, something felt wrong. Too quiet, too orderly. Then Emily noticed someone. Farther away, partially hidden behind a headstone, stood a lone woman. She wasn't moving. She was watching them. The girls froze. The woman's face was hard to see, but her gaze felt heavy, deliberate. As soon as Grace realized the woman was hiding, not approaching, fear took over. The girls ran. They didn't look back. They ran all the way to the car, breathless, stumbling over roots, calling for their parents. Hearing their story, Michael didn't dismiss it. He felt a tightening in his chest. He told Rebecca to stay with the girls and went to check for himself. He walked no more than 50 yards into the forest before he saw the first grave, then another and another. The cemetery stretched deeper than it should have. What unsettled him most was that every grave looked cared for. No overgrown weeds, no neglect. On one grave there were fresh wildflowers, as if someone had placed them there that very day. Michael assumed there must be a nearby settlement. Cemeteries didn't exist on their own. He kept walking. 100 yards, then another 100. The graves didn't end. And then he noticed something else. The same last name appeared again and again on the headstones. The very same name that was written on the grave with the fresh flowers. A chill ran down his spine. It felt as if the cemetery was closing in on him. Suddenly overwhelmed by a suffocating sense of being trapped, Michael turned and ran back toward the road, his heart pounding, his breath burning in his chest. When Michael reached the car, Rebecca was still holding the girls close, trying to calm them down. Emily and Grace were shaking, speaking over each other, repeating that the woman was real, that she had been watching them from behind a gravestone. Michael didn't argue. He could still feel the cold pressure in his chest from what he had seen among the graves. He made a quick decision. Staying there made no sense. They would leave on foot. By his estimate, they hadn't driven more than 12 miles from the main road. If they followed the dirt track back, they should reach the highway before nightfall. They grabbed only the essentials, locked the car out of habit, and started walking. It was around 3 in the afternoon. At first, the walk felt almost normal. The road was dry, the air was warm. Sunlight filtered through the trees, and the forest looked harmless, almost welcoming. Only the occasional mosquito reminded them that they were far from civilization. An hour passed, then another. The light began to change. Shadows stretched longer across the road. The buzzing grew louder. The mosquitoes multiplied, surrounding them in thick, relentless clouds. By 6:30, the sun slipped below the horizon, and the forest seemed to close in all at once. Michael swatted at the air in disbelief. "I've never seen mosquitoes like this in September," he muttered. "They're going to eat us alive," Rebecca said quietly. They tried to move faster, even to run. But without flashlights, someone always stumbled, catching a foot on roots or uneven ground. They were forced to slow down. There was nowhere to hide, no shelter, no clearing, just trees and darkness. Eventually, exhausted and desperate, they huddled together on the side of the road, wrapping themselves in jackets, trying to keep warm as the night air grew colder. No one slept. The forest was alive with sound. The constant high-pitched whine of mosquitoes filled their ears, unbroken, endless. Morning came slowly. With the first light, hope faded. They could finally see what the darkness had hidden. They were lost. The road was gone. In every direction, there were only trees. After a brief, silent discussion, Michael decided they would head south, using the sun as their guide. The sky was clear. It was the only option they had. They walked for several miles. Then Michael saw someone ahead, a human figure. A woman stood among the trees, calmly picking wildflowers as if this was an ordinary morning. She looked up when she noticed them, greeting them softly, without surprise, without fear, as though she had been expecting them all along. Michael explained everything: the broken car, the night in the forest, the road they couldn't find. The woman listened quietly. Then she raised her hand and pointed deeper into the woods. "The main road is that way," she said softly. "It's not far." With renewed hope, the family started moving in the direction the woman had indicated. The girls clung to their parents, trying to stay close. Their steps were hurried, but careful, as the forest still held hidden roots and uneven ground. Each shadow seemed heavier, each sound sharper. As they walked, Emily whispered to her father, "Dad, isn't that the woman we saw at the cemetery?" She shivered. Grace nodded. "She was spying on us back there." Michael didn't respond at first. He only kept walking, following the path suggested, his eyes scanning the forest, alert for any movement, any hint of danger. Time passed strangely. Every step felt both long and fleeting. The trees seemed to bend closer, as if watching, as if the forest itself were alive. After about 20 minutes, a familiar sight appeared in the distance: their car. Relief surged through them, but something felt wrong. The forest had circled them, shifted somehow, and the car's position seemed impossibly close and yet unreachable. Michael's jaw tightened. "We need to move, but I'll go ahead alone this time," he said firmly. His voice betrayed fatigue. He hadn't slept all night. Hunger and thirst gnawed at him, but he forced himself to keep going. He needed to secure help and guide his family safely out. The dirt road stretched endlessly before him. Michael ran, every step heavy with exhaustion, every breath loud in his own ears. Hours passed, yet he kept running, driven by instinct, by the need to save his family. Eventually, he reached the asphalt highway. 7 miles remained to safety, and each one felt like climbing a mountain. But he pushed through. Finally, he reached the main road and flagged down a rescue vehicle. It was just past 8 in the evening when the emergency responders arrived. 2 men stepped out, one with a search dog. "Come on, I'll show you," Michael said almost instinctively, feeling the urgency in his chest. Night had fallen completely. The darkness seemed heavier here, thicker. As they followed Michael through the woods, he finally saw the car. But there was no sign of Rebecca, Emily, or Grace inside. Panic surged anew. He led the rescuers toward the cemetery, trusting only his intuition. 50 yards in, then another 100. He shifted left slightly, trying to recall landmarks. But something impossible had happened. The cemetery seemed to vanish in the darkness. Michael shook his head, blaming sleep deprivation, hoping the morning would clarify everything. All night, the flashlights cut through the forest darkness. Michael's eyes strained, his body aching from exhaustion. Every rustle, every snap of a twig made his heart jump. But there was no sign of his family. The forest stretched endlessly, silent except for the faint whisper of the wind through the trees. By morning, hope had nearly vanished. Michael trudged back to the rescue vehicle, leaning on its hood for support. 2 sleepless nights and a day of relentless searching had left him drained, numb. "There's no cemetery here," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "What cemetery?" asked one of the rescuers, confused. "There's nothing here. Never was." Michael's hands shook. Did I imagine it? How could I? Even the mosquitoes. Gone. Where did it all go? A week passed. The authorities searched the surrounding area thoroughly, but no trace of Rebecca, Emily, or Grace was found. Michael learned that others had disappeared in these woods before, mostly foragers, berry pickers, people who wandered off the trail. About 4 years ago, a man in his 50s went missing under similar circumstances. His wife searched for him, but she too vanished in the same forest, never to return. Thomas had tried to warn Michael over the phone beforehand, but he never got the chance to explain properly. Soon after, Michael himself disappeared. Locals whispered that he couldn't bear to be alone, that he had gone back searching for the cemetery, searching for his family, and that he had seen things no one else could understand. Since then, people avoid these woods entirely. They are thick, strange, and unpredictable. Even today, travelers in this region speak in hushed tones about the Carter family and the Vanishing Cemetery. The woods lie in Jefferson County, somewhere in the remote countryside of the United States. Those who know the stories keep away, fearing the same fate. Lost, wandering, trapped in a place where reality bends and the forest itself decides who may leave and who stays forever.